Welcome to the Makeup and Beauty Podcast, where we talk about all things makeup and beauty with a dash of fashion and pop culture. I'm your host, C. Michelle, and let's jump right into it. Welcome back to the Makeup and Beauty Podcast. You guys, I just finished the season of Emily Loves Paris, season 2. And I am so in a mood. I am so in my feelings. I'm like, why did she do that to us? I love that show. If you have not seen Emily in Paris, you're not living. Go watch that show for the fashion, for the lightheartedness, for the whole vibe, for Alfie, like for just watch the show. It is such a good show and it's something fun, like I said before, and lighthearted. I don't like watching anything too serious, and if I can watch something that's beauty and fashion related, I'm for it. So for people that don't know what that show is, Emily Loves Paris is like The Devil Wears Prada, but a series. The best synopsis I can give you. All right, today's episode is a good one, and let me preface this. I was playing back the last episode and it sounded like I was whispering, and it's because I was. My son was sleeping, but I still have to get stuff done. I still have to do it. So she got it done. You might have to turn the volume up, but hey, such is life. We do what we have to do. But anywho, back to the episode details. We are going to have on a special guest. Her name is Kaya, and she is a natural hair and lifestyle blogger based in Canada. She shares resources, tips, and tricks on content creation, hair, and more. I kind of see her as the Pinterest guru because she has mastered it. She is going to be dropping some major gems in this episode, so make sure you stay tuned for that. So let's get into the first segment on the show called What's New in Beauty. So after last episode, episode 8, make sure you guys check that out. I dropped a ton of news of what's going on in makeup and fashion, but of course there's more. So has anybody heard of Brown Girl Jane? So once I heard about them, I was so intrigued. They have fragrances, they have CBD products, they have quite a bit of things. So here's what they say their mission is. The wellness of women is an authentic passion of ours. Each inch of our business was designed to create a collection and a community that helps bring balance and healing to the body, mind, and spirit for our badass sisters. Our goal is that our thoughtfully and painstakingly designed plant-based product line will serve as a useful addition to your wellness routine and help shift and heal our collective energy. So I'm really interested into trying these products. If anyone has tried them, please let me know by sending me a DM at C. Michelle Styles over on Instagram, or you can send me an email at podcast@cmichellestyles.com and let me know. And let me know if you have any experience with Brown Girl Jane, because I think one of the first products I will try from them is their fragrance. They have 3 different scents at $62, and they are parfums. And it seems like all of the founders are women, and they're all seems to be busy moms. Well, maybe 2 out of the 3 are busy moms, which resonates with me a lot because I'm a busy mom. So as far as wellness goes, they have Balance Wellness Drops. They have the CBD jellies, anti-stress, and they have the Rest Well drops. They also have, it's called Heal Body Butter. They have a Glow Luminous Facial Serum. They have the Aromatic Body Oil, and they have 2 candles, the Velvet Moon perfumed candle and the Warm Cashmere perfumed candle. That's Brown Girl Jane. Make sure you check them out, and if you do, tell them the Makeup and Beauty Podcast or C. Michelle Styles sent you. And let's get into the product of the week. This week, a product that has just been staring at me on the editor's desk, that's what I call my desk, on the editor's desk, has just been staring at me like, try me, try me. It is Tarte's Jelly Glaze. You guys, you are missing out. It's called the Sea Jelly Glaze Anytime Lip Mask. I have it in the color Strawberry Jelly, and it's clean, it's vegan. It is an all-day, everyday hydrating and smoothing vegan lip mask that has sheer, flattering tint for softer and healthier looking lips. This stuff has really worked so good for me. It has avocado oil, jojoba oil, argan oil in it. It has hyaluronic acid in it, and that is, I think, the key that helps lock in that moisture. And it has marine plant extracts. For $16, you will be doing yourself a favor and buying this product. I love it. I have a whole podcast coming out on my favorite lip products, and lip care is definitely in there, and this product will be listed. Check it out. The link is below in the show notes. It's such a good hydrating product. I put it on at night or just whenever, and my lips just feel good all day. It's so good I might put like this little mini sample size I have in Chanel, which is my car, and then buy another one just for the house because it's good. It's real good. I hope you enjoyed the product of the week. Now the next voice you will hear will be of Kaya of Comfygirlcurls, and we are going to have such an enlightening discussion on content creation, how to grow your business, and just the successes she has had over the last 6 years with her business. Well, welcome, Kaya, to the Makeup and Beauty Podcast. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. I'm so glad. So tell me a little bit about yourself and how did you get into blogging?
Well, I am born and raised in Vancouver. I have always loved writing. So it's actually kind of funny. 2 days ago, I guess from filming this, is my 6-year blog anniversary.
Woo-hoo! Congratulations.
Thank you. So I just launched on this venture 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The main reason was to share my hair journey with others. I was relatively newly natural and just hoped that maybe my thoughts and product reviews could help somebody else with similar hair texture. And, as time went, I started sharing about how I was dabbling in makeup and how I was dabbling in skincare and lifestyle products. And the brand Comfygirlcurls just kind of expanded from there and became a brand that really reflects me. So nowadays, I really do just say that I'm a lifestyle blogger, whereas before I used to say pretty firmly that I was a natural hair blogger, but it's so much more than that now.
I look at you as like a Pinterest guru. Like I see you as that person that has mastered Pinterest. So how did you discover Pinterest and what made you really take a liking into Pinterest and learning it so well?
Well, the funny thing is I started looking at Pinterest strategically thanks to my dad, which is quite funny. My dad has always kind of dabbled in, I would say more than dabbled. He's always had websites in his own niches that he's really fascinated in. And he bought a course on Pinterest. And he's like, I think you would really this would interest you. And it was a short little like webinar, and I sat down and watched it in the middle of like a family dinner, and I was instantly hooked. It blew my mind. And it was pretty much just saying, Pinterest is a search engine. It's like Google. So you can master it by using it strategically. It's not the same as social media. It's not just about pretty pictures, which is funny because we think of Pinterest and we think of pretty pictures. But that was kind of my first exposure to the idea of using Pinterest strategically. And from there, I just did a lot of research and a lot of trial and error. And I fell in love with it as a platform. As you say, a lot of people now kind of think of me when they think of Pinterest, which is really cool. But to me, I love analyzing things and trial and erroring. So really that's what it was. I knew that Pinterest could be used to drive long-term traffic to my blog. So I basically said, okay, I'm going to make it drive long-term traffic to my blog, and I'm going to do the research and do the work. And really, I would say it was just investing time in it and a lot of consistency. Whereas I know sometimes people will try it out and not see immediate results and will kind of give up. Because I always had in my mind that it is possible to use this tool effectively, I never gave up. I knew that I was going to put in the work and keep trying until it happened. And I've been using it probably strategically, I would say, for maybe 5 years. So not the entire time I've had my blog, but a good chunk of it. So that's why I've been able to build up so much traffic and success over time, is because I have been at it a long time.
People are probably wondering, when you say strategically, what do you mean? When someone posts on Pinterest, it's more than just literally posting your picture, adding some tags to it, and being done.
Yes.
Okay.
So, yes. So the one thing I say to everybody, and I think it's the perfect intro to Pinterest and to transforming your approach to Pinterest, is using keywords. So the beauty of Pinterest is if you even start to type in a word, say I want to pin a picture of a natural hairstyle.
Mm-hmm.
I can start typing in natural hairstyle, and a bunch of words will actually auto populate, and a bunch of terms will populate in the search bar. And those are all words or key phrases that people are searching frequently. So I'm going to make sure that I use those relevant keywords in my Pinterest title, in my Pinterest pins description. The board that I pin that pin to, I'm going to make sure that title has the keyword in it and that description has the keyword in it. So I'm actively doing a little bit of research to see what people are searching for. And I make sure that those words are included everywhere that I could possibly put it in the relevant pin. Because that way, how is Pinterest going to know what your content is if you're not putting the right words to it? And I think a lot of people will just say, gorgeous hairstyle, but that's not very descriptive. You have to think, what would somebody type in to find my content?
Right. That's huge. Okay, so that's an awesome way to think about Pinterest in a new light. I am learning myself how to utilize Pinterest more. And I notice when I post pins, it takes a minute for it to kind of like rev up to actually start working. I thought it would be something that would work quicker, but it might take a little time to build up. And then when it builds up, it builds up. So I am truly a believer in Pinterest. And I do think that it can really help grow your website or whatever it is that you're building. So as far as you driving traffic to your website, how do you do that? And like, how successful has it been for you?
Yeah, so Pinterest has been absolutely crucial to my blog strategy. And I actually personally think that Pinterest works best when you're driving traffic back to a blog, because if you enable rich pins, it will actually pull data from your blog and sort of correlate it and say, oh, yeah, this is actually relevant to the website you're pointing to. So it will make your pins perform better. So I definitely find that using Pinterest is a number one traffic driver for my website. And the second is actually, of course, Google, another search engine. So yeah. I find that using the two in tandem, you're using a traditional search engine and you're using a visual search engine. And like you said, it takes time. With Google, it takes on average like 3 months for your content to start ranking successfully. And Pinterest, I find, is very similar. You're not going to see that instant traffic. And yeah, like you said, like right now, I think I'm hitting about 27,000 monthly viewers on my blog. Wow. And that is both because of Pinterest and Google. I don't see that traffic source really coming from Instagram or Facebook or the social media sites. It is strictly from these two search engines.
So would you say Pinterest is your main social platform that you put most of your time into?
Surprisingly not. Okay. And that's the beauty. And that is the beauty of Pinterest. So I actually automate, I would say 90% of my Pinterest content. I do pay for a subscription with Tailwind. It's a monthly amount. I can't remember off the top of my head how much it is. But what I do is I will spend maybe an hour a week inputting pins into Tailwind and schedule them. And I will schedule them for months out even. and then I forget about it. I will I will go in every so often into Pinterest to create idea pins manually. Those are pretty similar to like Instagram stories. And you can do like video content on those too. And those can only be done manually in app. So I will go in to do that. But everything else, it's on autopilot. And that is the beauty of it. I'll go in every so often to audit my Pinterest boards,
Yeah.
make sure the keywords I'm using are still up to date, the descriptions are still up to date. But other than that, it's on autopilot.
Wow. So I know
Mm-hmm.
that Tailwinds is a thing, and so is Hootsuite. Is Tailwinds specifically for Pinterest,
Yes.
or is that like an all platform type of scheduling system?
They have recently expanded into Instagram and Facebook, and I have not tried their features that way, but it is a Pinterest first program. That is the first place that they started creating automation. So Tailwind has both an Instagram and Facebook scheduling option in addition to Pinterest, but it really was a Pinterest first platform. And I believe they are also Pinterest authorized. So they're
Mm.
that's what they do and they do it well. They are dabbling in other things, but for me, I'm strictly using the Pinterest option right now.
I am so curious to know what would be your five do's and don'ts for Pinterest?
Hmm. Five each?
Well,
Or
no,
five or just
five,
five? Okay.
five total, unless you want to just, it's up to you, but five
All
total.
right. All right. So, first one, an absolute do is do use keywords and use those keywords absolutely everywhere. The second I would say is optimize your bio. And that is very similar to any platform you're on. You want to make sure that the information in your bio it makes it very clear as to what you do. So if you're a lifestyle blogger, make sure that's in there. Make it clear what type of content you create. If you're creating for a specific demographic or location, make sure that information is there, because it also means that not only can the proper users find you, your proper audience, but also potential brands who might be scouring Pinterest for
Mhm.
brand deals. Um, Number three, I would say don't approach it as a social media app. Really make sure you're approaching it as a search engine, which means you're playing the long game, not the short game.
Mm.
Four, I would say in the pins that you have text in it, make sure you have a clear call to action. So if you're saying shop these styles or get the look, whatever you're trying to get your audience to do, make sure that it is clear and bold and readable. And the fifth is use idea pins. They are still new there. And so Pinterest is really pushing them out, and people are blowing up with their reach on Pinterest through using idea pins.
I do know when platforms roll something out that's new, you definitely want to jump on that thing, because that is what's going to help push you, because they want to promote that new thing that they're doing. So I've been using the idea pins here recently because I was just experimenting, like, well, what is this? Like, how do I
Yes.
do it? But using the idea pins, would you still use those same keywords? Because it's kind of different, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I do still make sure that I do keyword research even for those. I make sure that that keyword's going to be in the title at the very least. And you don't have the same description option as you do with
Right.
your other pins, but you do have the option to add a maximum of 10 tags for each idea pin. I believe it's underneath the advanced settings, so you do have to um, actively go looking for it.
Right.
So definitely use those tags in the same sort of way you would keywords.
Awesome. So I know you recently just went on a special trip. Can you tell everyone about
Mhm.
that and your experience, and how was it?
Absolutely. So I'm still sort of in shock and processing. I feel like it was a whirlwind. So earlier in December, I went to VidCon Abu Dhabi with the Google for Creators team. So pretty much Google paid for me to fly out and go talk at this conference. I partnered on a speech with them talking about content creation bundles. So the idea of, bundling your content, the same story or campaign on different platforms. And was just so shocked and honored that they wanted me to come with them. And it was just such a privilege to go on that adventure. I'm still
It
processing, like I
sounds
say.
amazing. How long were you there?
So I was there for, I want to say 6 days total. The conference itself was 4 days. And what VidCon is, if people aren't completely familiar with it, in the States, it started there. VidCon is just this massive video conference, usually highlighting YouTubers. So this was their first one in Abu Dhabi, which shows a little bit of a branch off as they're trying to go global.
That's amazing. So when you got that email or however way they contact you, what did you do? Like, did you scream? Did you like go tell your husband? Like, what did you do?
So very first thing, I was reading this email at work and my boss was actually talking to me and I just like zoned out. And he's like, is everything okay? And I was like,
I don't
like
know.
ah. And so the first person I actually told was my boss, which was good because I had used up almost all of my vacation for the year, and having him there for like my moment of shock, he was like, yeah, no, go, like you got this.
Oh, that's amazing.
So
See,
I was
everything happens the way
so
it's supposed to.
it does. And then the next thing I immediately did after rereading the email many times to make sure it wasn't a mistake, was was run outside and call my husband and was like, I think Google wants me to go to Abu Dhabi, but I think like it was not processing. But yeah, that was just a lot of processing and rereading because as you
That's one of
may
those
guess, I
emails
struggle
you
with imposter syndrome.
right. And that's one of those emails you print out and you kind of like frame or like have in your arsenal of like motivation, put on your vision
Yes.
board, even though it's already happened, but just have it always as a reminder, like, I'm that chick. Okay. People see me out here, they know what's going on, and let me remind myself every day. But congratulations on that. That's huge.
Thank you. Thank you. It was
So,
awesome.
another thing about you and your content that I really, really like is your transparency and your ability to share about how you can still make money as a nano influencer or a micro influencer. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how you go about being able to make money that way? I mean, it just seems hard because oftentimes they want to see you product for a reel or for a story. And I am subject to that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then, they want to put pressure on you to do it after they give it to you, or, like they just want to put that pressure on you. But it's like, you're sending me this for free. It's always consideration to me. But how do you kind of pivot to get them to pay you?
Yeah. So a huge turning point for me was last year. And so, like I said, I've been at this 6 years now. And the first 4 years, I wasn't making like anything,
Mm-hmm.
mostly because I didn't have a strategy. And also, kind of what you're saying with the gifted content or gifted products, sorry, that's what you get offered all the time. And at first, you just feel so lost on how can you pivot this? How can I get out of this loop of gifted content, or I keep saying content product, which is kind of funny because when you first start out, you're like, gifted product is goals, like that,
Yes.
you know what I mean? Like you couldn't even imagine getting
You're
that
like,
at first, but then
whoa. Yeah.
they see me. But then after you've been in it a while, you're like, yeah, this is work. And like you just want free advertising from me.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
To
So
an audience that you normally would not be reaching.
yes. Yes. So the first thing was in 2020, or beginning of 2021 and 2020, I literally was like, this is a business for me. I am going to start making money.
Yep.
And how are we going to do that? And it was learning to put up boundaries and know my worth. And that meant saying no. And it was hard,
Mm-hmm.
but really what that looked like was whenever somebody would send me an email and say, hey, we want to send you this product in exchange for a post or a reel or whatever it is, I started saying, and I typed up a template because I would get so nervous of how I was going to communicate it each time. But I basically started saying, hey, thank you so much for thinking of me. Your products look great. I think they would resonate well with my audience. But unfortunately, I'm not able to take on any gifted partnerships at this time. This is my rate for these deliverables. I would love to chat more. And from there, sometimes they would say, hey, no, sorry, we only have a budget for gifted. Are you still interested? And I would say, no,
No.
would love to talk more if you have a budget in the future, though, and trying to keep that door open. And I was surprised, actually, though, on the other hand, how many brands would say, oh, okay, cool, no problem. Like, let's negotiate your rate. And it made me realize that so many brands will just try for gifted first because it's free for them. Like,
Right.
why would they not try that? But a lot of these brands do have a bit of a budget in their back pocket. So when you bring up money, they are actually prepared to negotiate. Not all, but enough to actually start, building up a portfolio of paid sponsorships. Yeah, that's really what it came down to, is saying no. And people still try it now. They still try gifted, even though I have a ton of paid partnerships under my belt. They still try gifted, still try to tell me that, I'm not worth my rate, but there will always be people that will pay it. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, oh yeah. People always will say, oh, well, you know what? This person with your same following did it for free. And I'm like, okay, well, that's great. Go use them
Go
because
use
I'm
them
not
again.
free. Yeah. It's like you
Wow.
approached me because you saw value in what I'm creating. So pay for that value.
Pay for that value, pay for my time, pay for my
Mm-hmm.
expertise, and pay for the audience that you're going to be reaching. So I hear you say you have a strategy for your blog or your business. What would be one strategy that you use in terms of ensuring that you get paid?
It's kind of twofold, because one is the strategy that I've been leaning on this past year, but I'm going to be pivoting this year to be more proactive. So
Got it.
this past year, I relied a lot on attracting brands. I didn't have to pitch very much this year. I think I pitched twice total. Everything else was brands coming to me, approaching me, pitching me. And that, I don't think that was by accident. I was
Mhm.
pretty intentional with, the hashtags that I use on Instagram. I use hashtags that I suspect brands are looking at. So Black blogger, micro influencer,
Mhm.
lifestyle blogger, things that might not necessarily grow my reach or audience, but will probably be on a brand's radar. Sometimes, like if I saw a brand that I knew was partnering with influencers and I was like, I think we'll be a right fit, I would literally hyper engage with their content. And it honestly works a little bit like clockwork. As long as you have like a good portfolio on your feed showing
Mhm.
that, yeah, you're an influencer, I would engage with their content. I would comment on it. They're paying attention. That's on their radar. I did that once, and I think literally 2 hours later, I had an email in my inbox saying, hey, we'd love to partner with you. What are your rates?
Wow.
So it is being active. Like, it's not pitching, but you're still being active and making sure you're getting on a brand's radar. You can't just sit there passively and be like, I hope they come.
I
So
hope they see
I
me.
hope they see me. But the second part is that this year, as I'm hoping to pivot into content creation full time,
Yes.
I want to,
Yes.
yes, I'm pumped. But because of that, I'll need to take a more proactive approach to my income.
Mhm.
So I do plan to actively pitch a lot more this year. And just really looking at what brands I'm using already, what brands are, a really natural fit, align with my audience and just formulating pitches for them.
I remember back in the day, media kits used to be a whole thing. When brands reach out to you, are they asking for a media kit, or do you have one? Do you update it? What's your thing on media kits?
Yes, so I have one. I find brands don't ask for them as much as they used to, especially when so much of your information is readily accessible, and brands really are doing their research these days. But I do find that it is helpful when trying to convert a gifted partnership into a paid one, because I can say, hey, here are my stats. Here is who I've worked with before. So I definitely keep one up to date. It's actually just kind of permanently in Canva. And anytime I need to use it or send it out, I will go in, update the numbers, and just export it as a brand new file and send it over. So it's an active document that I am in quite a bit, but I'm not actively sending it out all the time. I'm using it in negotiations.
Yeah, so media kits back in the day used to be a thing. Like I've been blogging since
Mm-hmm.
2009. So media kits used to be like, you have to have a media kit. And then for some, it would be like, well, if I never worked with anyone yet, why would I have this media? What would I put on it?
Yes.
So it's kind of nice that you don't have to have that same pressure of needing a media kit, because we do have all these social media platforms that people can readily see your information. But I do notice that when I do try to convert, exactly like what you said, those freebies into paid, they're like, oh, well, we need your media kit. It's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
a doing a check and balances type thing. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
it's interesting, but I was just curious to see if people were really asking for your media kit like that. Being a nano influencer, I know there's all these names and these titles. Getting paid as a nano influencer or a micro influencer is really, really hard. And I know you said, you ask them for a budget or this or that, but for that person out there that might not be so confident in their skill or in their ability, when would you recommend people start to ask for money? Like, when would be that threshold to say, hey, you know what, I'm at this point now, I'm ready to start creating content and being paid for it. I'm so over the free gifts now. It's no longer a luxury, it's more of like a burden. When do you think that pivot is for someone who is new to content creation?
That's a great question because I have been getting it a lot actually.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and it's probably twofold because first, I think there is no concrete number or threshold that people can say, okay, yes, I can start charging now. And I think a while ago, people used to think that threshold was 10K. And as
Absolutely.
we know, yeah, that is no longer the case. And I know influencers who are getting paid at 1K. I know influencers who are getting their first brand deal at 5K, 6K. So it really does depend. I don't think there's a threshold. But I would say for each individual person asking themselves this, I would say two things. First, it's when you kind of like what you said, you feel like it's a burden. And I, for myself, it was when I started to create content that was for a gifted partnership. And I was sitting there and I'm like, this is not worth my time.
Mm-mm.
And I would literally sit there and it was almost like regret. And I would love the product and I would love the process of creating. But at the same time, I was like, this is taking away from me being able to maybe create my own blog post or my
Right.
own content for something that I can potentially monetize or add value back to my audience. So when you kind of are sitting there and you're like feeling a little bit of regret for taking it,
Yeah, like, why am
that's
I
how
doing
you,
this?
yeah, exactly. And especially if a brand's asking you like to approve the content or sign off on it or anything like that, like
Like
that needs
NDAs
to
and
be
stuff,
paid.
that's a no.
No, no. So you got to be, that's kind
Or
of the
the
first.
word perpetuity. Like,
Yes.
that's a no.
Yeah, no, no, no. So that's kind of the first thing when you are feeling that type of way, like that's when you know your next similar brand negotiation or opportunity needs to be paid.
Yes.
But the second thing I think is people need to also be very realistic, like with their content. And this is where I think like a bit of like we shouldn't be hard on ourselves, but sometimes we have to be a bit hard on ourselves, because sometimes I see people who are like, I should be getting paid. I'm sick of gifted stuff. And the content they're creating isn't necessarily something that you would see on a brand's page. You might not see the quality that brands are paying for. And I think that's something that even myself, like when I would look at earlier content, I'm like, that's not something somebody would pay for, even if I thought maybe like I should be getting money for it. Because yes, you're getting they're getting their product in front of a new audience, but when they're paying, usually they are looking for a type of standard. And what I challenge people to do sometimes is to look at their content and then go look on like the brand they want to work with and click tagged photos, and you can scroll through and usually find people who they have paid to do work, and just look at the kind of caliber that they are hiring. And if you think, you know what, yeah, I'm creating content just as great as that, then 100% you should be charging, even if you only have like 500 followers. Because if your content is high quality and they can repurpose it with ads, they could, you know, put it on their website. If it's high quality content, you can charge them for that. And it's not just about your follower account at that point. You're charging them for your content in itself.
Right.
And that's kind of, I think, a threshold that people need to look at over followers. It should be like, okay, when have I hit the threshold of quality versus the threshold of how many followers do I have? Like you can sell your high quality content with no followers, right? Like they hire photographers. So if you're creating just bomb content, like you should be charging.
Awesome. So one last question about Pinterest.
Mm-hmm.
What is a good way to grow a Pinterest board?
So I would say I don't put as much thought into Pinterest boards as I used to. When Pinterest was being rolled out as kind of a strategy for bloggers, group boards were everything. And you would try to get people on your group boards, adding unique content to it. People were making Facebook groups for their group boards, just to try to get just lots of traction and views on it. But in my experience, the focus on individual boards and the success of individual boards isn't as heavy for Pinterest. It's kind of on the individual content. So when you're trying to grow a board per se, you just want to make sure you're applying the same strategies as you are with a pin. So you're making sure the title of your board has keywords in it. It's not just like, ooh, yummy food. It's like, you know, if it's vegan food, you're saying like quick and easy vegan meal. So like you're using that same strategy. And then in your description, you're building out with more keywords and key phrases. And that will make sure that your boards are searchable and findable. But I don't think people need to put as much effort right now into like making sure those boards are found and seen and people are added to it or anything. It's going to happen naturally as long as those keywords are there.
So I know that you have been grinding and working really hard on your business and your brand. Could you kind of give us an idea of maybe your income or your revenue that you've made just from blogging? And that could include total, you know, blog posts and sponsored stuff, like everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I actually, when I do all of my math and finances, I do include absolutely everything in one. So across all my social media platforms, my overall brand, Comfygirlcurls, last year I made a total of $70,000 before taxes.
What?
And yes, I made a TikTok video about it, and it hit 1 million views because people were kind of shocked. And apparently money sells.
Wow. You know what? I think honesty sells, really. And it's the fact that it's someone who maybe looks like them. It's someone who doesn't have 1 million followers, but just has a very strong base. You know, like that's inspiring. So, of course, I mean, That would go viral. You know what I mean? Oh, I gotta follow you
Yeah.
on TikTok too, girl, because I just started my TikTok. I don't know
Ooh,
anything about
yes.
it. Um, wow, that's incredible. So that's side income, not from your
Hmm.
job, just
Yeah.
strictly from your business.
Yeah. And so for a bit of context, I know I'm in,
That's
again,
such a
I'm just in
blessing.
a
Yeah.
permanent state of like shock and gratitude. But to kind of illustrate how possible it is, I think I started last year with 7,800 followers and I
Mhm.
ended with about 9,000, and then the video went viral and now I'm over 10K. But yeah, it was all that money was made when I had fewer than 10,000 followers. So like it's not about numbers, people.
Wow. Okay. Look, I could probably have a whole nother interview just strictly on that, but I mean, you've given us so many gems from this interview, but what would be the one thing or just a piece of advice you can give to new creators out there who are looking to do this full time, who want to do this full time? I mean, 70,000 is a great amount that you can live off
Hmm.
on its
Hmm.
own. So, what would be just maybe your top few tips for a new blogger?
My number one tip um, is you have to enjoy the journey. I had So on TikTok, after that video blew up, I went from 4,000 followers to 65,000 followers. Yeah. And I mean, it's pretty clear that they're all there because they want like the tea, the tips, they want like the money. And it's interesting in some of the comments, some of the people are like, how do I start a blog? But I hate writing. And I'm like, well,
Good luck.
yeah. So the number one tip I say is like people have to be really honest with themselves. Like you have to enjoy the journey and ask yourself, why are you starting? And hopefully that answer is because you enjoy it. You hope to connect with others. You hope to add value to other people's lives. If you're diving into it to make money, you will burn out really quickly and that money just probably realistically won't come because like I said, I was doing it for 4 years without even a little bit of money, probably
Right.
losing it because I was paying for my blog hosting fees and everything. So, like, you really, really, I can't emphasize it more, have to enjoy the journey. And the second tip I would say, if you want to make it a full time thing, if you want to make it a business, you have to approach it as a business. And that means that you have to be doing research, you have to be connecting with your peers in the industry. You need to be self-aware and learn how to pivot and adapt and all of those things that you would do if you were a business, a brick and mortar business,
Mhm.
and you want to be successful, and you have to invest time and money and energy. It doesn't have to be a big money investment, but just being able to spend a little bit to make a lot more. So yeah, really saying this is a business. What do I have to do to succeed?
Awesome. Well, we've had some very deep conversations, and I think we should have a little bit more fun. So, are you down for just a few rapid fire questions so they can get to know you a little bit better?
All right, we'll see how quick I can think on my feet.
Okay. Are you a heels or flats person?
Heels.
Okay. What social media platform are you loving the most right now?
Even though I don't consider it social, Pinterest.
What product can you not stop reaching for?
I say my NARS tinted moisturizer.
What was for lunch today?
Oh, it's so bad. My husband gave me heck for it because I didn't eat lunch.
Oh no.
But I got home and ate a bunch of chips and hummus.
Yum, yum, yum. And okay, so what would be your go to karaoke song?
Ooh, no one wants to hear me sing, but probably something something from the movie Rent or a Disney musical, probably.
What is your guilty pleasure snack?
Ooh, chips and hummus. I will eat a bag of chips a day if I could, and I have.
But what kind of chips? Like pita chips, Lay's chips? Like what type of chips?
I am really feeling Miss Vicky's. They're pickle and like pepper ones right now.
Oh,
it's
yum.
Very specific, but it's like spicy dill pickle.
So that was so much fun. But tell me, where can people find you?
Well, people can find me pretty much on every corner of the internet under the handle Comfygirlcurls, and that's on Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok, Facebook, you name it. And I actually just launched a new YouTube channel under the name Creating with Kea, where I share more of like the behind the scenes content creation tips for anybody who really wants the hands-on information there.
What an awesome interview. Thank you so much, Kea of Comfygirlcurls, for coming over and speaking to us on the Makeup and Beauty podcast and teaching us those valuable tips on how to leverage Pinterest. One of the major things I got was research. Doing your research before you're posting, looking at what is happening right now, looking at those keywords, SEO, all of those things are so important. And you can check out for more detailed tips and just the things that we spoke about on cmichellestyles.com. I have a post written up on the tips that she mentioned. They are super helpful to me, and I hope that they are super helpful to you. And let's set a goal to get that 70K, honey. It is so much out here for all of us, and I'm inspired. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. If you liked the show, please do me the greatest favor. It'll be an honor if you would subscribe to this podcast, rate it, and leave a review. It will be very helpful, and it will help it grow. You can find me everywhere at C. Michelle Styles, TikTok, Twitter, Pinterest, all of those places, Instagram. Also, if you want to be on the It List, that is my rapidly growing newsletter. Check it out. The link is below in the show notes, and sign up because I send out tons of beauty and fashion news first to my readers. Thank you for joining me for Beauty and Community, and join me next week for another interview and some good tea. Adios. Besos.